Hey everybody, welcome to the 252 workshop. My name's Mr. Paul. 252, you may be wondering, why do we call it the 252 workshop? Is that my area code? No, it's not. Is it my house address? No, it's not. 252 is actually a Bible verse. In Luke chapter 2, verse 52, it says, Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man. So the purpose of the 252 workshop is for us to learn things about the Bible as we grow so we can have a good relationship with God, our family, and those around us. This month we've been talking about friendship. Friendship is using our words and our action to show others that we care. Okay. Friends are important. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 17:17, a friend loves at all time, and a brother is born for adversity. We learned about how friends love at all times. The first week we learned from Proverbs 17:17 that it's important to have friends. That friends, with two people, you get more done. That friends stand up for each other. They have each other's back. And friends together trust God. The next week we talked about Jonathan and David, and we learned that friends love each other. Just like David loved Jonathan as a brother and Jonathan loved David as a brother, they loved each other and were close friends the rest of their lives, and they loved God together. Last week we learned that friends encourage each other. Our story was about Elijah and Elisha. Elijah was really discouraged. He thought he was the only one serving God. And God sent him Elisha to come alongside to encourage him. And they spent several years together before God, through a miracle, took Elijah to heaven with a chariot of fire and horses of fire. And then Elisha kept on going as a prophet of God. This week we're going to talk about Peter. Peter was one of the first disciples of Jesus. When we first see Peter in the gospel, he's out fishing. He's a professional fisherman. He had fished all night long, and you know what he caught? Nothing. Not one single fish. He was done for the day, packed up the boat, putting everything away, and along came Jesus. Jesus said, Peter, let me get in the boat and push the boat off so I could speak to the people. Jesus spoke to the people all day long. Peter was amazed. After Jesus was done speaking to the people, he asked one more thing. He said, Peter, let's go fishing. Now, Peter had been up all night long, hadn't caught anything, but he listened to Jesus. And they went out, and Jesus said, cast the net over here. So they cast the net out, and they were getting so many fish, the boat was starting to sink. And Peter had to call out to his friends, hey, help me out here. I got so many fish, the boat is sinking. They brought out another boat, and they got all those fish. And when they got to shore, the Bible tells us that Peter left everything and started following Jesus. Now, throughout Jesus' 3.5 years, Peter was with them. They were close friends. In fact, Peter was the first one to realize that Jesus was the Christ, the anointed one. He was the first one of the disciples to say, you're the Christ, you're the anointed one, you're the one we've been waiting for. Now we're getting to the end of the Gospels. Jesus had a special meal with his 12 disciples. It was celebrating the Passover. And Jesus knew it was the last time he was going to be talking to them while he was alive. During the dinner, he said several important things. He said, tonight, one of you 12 that are sitting with me are going to betray me. You're going to go and tell my enemies where I'm at, and they are going to take me away, and I'm going to be killed. And all the disciples looked, is it me? Is it me? Who's going to betray Jesus? Then they all said, I wouldn't betray you. And then Jesus said, all of you are going to forsake me tonight. And Peter said, I would never run away from you, Lord. Not me. Not Peter. I wouldn't run away from you. Jesus said, yes, Peter. In fact, you are going to deny me 3 times before the rooster crows tonight. And then something happened.
Jesus, you have been so faithful. Jesus, you have been so true. I will be forever thankful, 'cause I never had a friend like you. Help me to be who you've been to me, to everyone I see. Let us love one another with a love like no other yet. That's the way you love us, God. Never turn away, you are with us every day, yeah. That's the way you love us, God. Your love is always been beginning to end. There's never been a better friend. So let us love one another with our love like no other, yeah. That's the way you love us, God. You with me in the darkest valley. You with me on the mountaintop. I'm thankful that you never leave me, and that your love will never stop. Help me to be who you've been to me, to everyone I see. Let us love one another with a love like no other, yeah. That's the way you love us, God. Never turn away, you are with us every day, yeah. That's the way you love us, God. Your love is always been beginning to end. There's never been a better friend. So let us love one another with our love like no other, yeah. That's the way you love us, God. I wanna thank you for being a friend who's always by my side. I wanna thank you for the way you love me all my life. I wanna thank you for being a friend who's always by my side. I wanna thank you for the way you love me all my life. Love one another with a love like no other, yeah. That's the way you love us, God. Never turn away, you are with us every day, yeah. That's the way you love us, God. Your love is always been beginning to end. There's never been a better friend. So let us love one another with our love like no other, yeah. That's the way you love us, God.
Okay, well, Judas left the dinner after that. He went and talked to the people that didn't like Jesus. He got the scribes and Pharisees, and they got the soldiers. They came after Jesus, an angry mob and soldiers, and they took Jesus away. All the disciples just ran off and hid. They were afraid. They went to a person's house, I believe it was the high priest's house, and it was nighttime. Got to be about the middle of the night. Well, Peter decides to come up to where there's a fire, and there's some soldiers and other people out around the fire. They're staying warm, and Jesus is inside, and they're accusing him of all these things that he didn't do. And this servant girl comes up and says, "Aren't you Peter, one of his followers?" And he says, "No, I'm not a follower of Jesus." So then a little time goes by, and Peter's over by the fire, and he's trying to keep himself warm and everything, and other people are coming up and they're putting wood on the fire. Another servant girl comes up and says, "Hey, aren't you one of those followers of Jesus?" Peter says, No, I'm not a follower of Jesus." A little more time goes by, everybody's by the fire, and one of the bystanders says, "You know what? You got the same accent like Jesus has. I can tell by the way you've been talking, you're a follower of Jesus." And Peter says, No, I'm not a follower of Jesus." And about that time, the rooster went. Peter went and he realized he had denied Jesus 3 times that night. But thankfully, that's not the end of the story. Yes, Jesus did die, but he didn't stay dead. He rose again on the 3rd day. In fact, when he had rose again, Peter was one of the first ones out of the men to run to the tomb where Jesus' body had been laid. And he saw that Jesus wasn't there. He had risen. Later, Jesus appeared to Peter and the 12. Well, they were locked inside a room, because they were afraid. But the story still doesn't end there. Remember where we started our story? Peter was out fishing. Well, some time had passed, maybe about a week, and Peter told his friends, hey, let's go fishing. So Peter and some of the disciples, they go out in a boat. They fished all night. Guess what they caught? Nothing. Here we are again. Peter had not caught anything. Now, I guess they were starting to bring the boat to the shore, and Jesus appeared on the shore. They didn't recognize Jesus, but he said to them, friends, drop your net onto the other side of the boat. And so they dropped their net, and they started pulling up all these fish. And I imagine Peter's like, I've done this before. Look at all these fish. That's Jesus. The Bible tells us that Peter grabbed his coat, jumped out of the boat, swam all the way to the shore. It's like, Jesus, it's you. You've risen, and you're here with us. You know what Jesus had done? He had made a fire, and he already had cooked some fish for them for breakfast. So they all sat around, ate breakfast together. Then Jesus got Peter on the side. Peter probably knew what was coming. Jesus said to him, Peter, do you love me? He said, yes, Lord, I love you. He says, well, feed my sheep. Jesus often referred to sheep as people that would be followers. So then they talked a little bit, and Jesus said, Peter, do you love me? Yes, Lord, I love you. Feed my sheep. Then a third time Jesus said, Peter, do you love me? I think Peter realized Jesus was making a point. 3 times I denied him. 3 times he's asking me a question. Yes, Lord, I do love you. Feed my sheep. Jesus forgave Peter for denying him. See, when we make mistakes, Jesus is always there to forgive us for our mistakes. And with talking about friends, there's going to be times that friends disagree. And we need to be like Jesus and be able to forgive our friends when they disagree with us and hurt our feelings. Just like Jesus forgave Peter, we need to be able to forgive other people when they hurt us.
Sometimes it's hard to know what the day is gonna bring. Some days you feel like you can fly. Some days we have broken wings. But with you by my side, I'll always be okay. You always shine color, even on a cloudy day. Sometimes we face trouble, we're scared and insecure. But with a friend like you, I'm always reassured that if I fall down, it's you that'll help me up.
Last week I told you I had an Elijah to help me and to be my mentor and encourage me. Well, I'm going to tell you a story what happened when we disagreed. I had been working on this chicken coop. I mean, I'd seen stuff online and everybody's buying these super cool chicken coops. I was going to build one. So I worked on one for, 5 or 6 weeks in my shop. I was so excited, and I set a day for when Henry was going to come over, and I was going to show him this, and then we were going to go out to eat. Because Henry and I, we were best of friends. I mean, we sat together in church together. We were like we're talking about. We were Jonathan and David. We loved God together. And my best friend was going to come over and see my chicken coop. I opened the door to my shop and said, "What do you think?" Henry said, looked around, "I don't like it." Like, what? He said, "It's not going to work." Mr. Henry had raised chickens. I said, "But I made these plans and everything." He said, "Well, you don't have this, and you don't have a place for them to perch, and you don't have this. It's just not going to work." And the more he said that, the madder I got. I was thinking, I have worked on this thing for weeks, and you haven't said anything nice. Well, he said everything that he had to say about my chicken coop. We went out to eat. You know how I was eating? He looked at me, goes, "Are you mad?" I said, "What do you think?" He said, "You're upset about the chicken coop." I said, "Yes, I am." Well, we both went home that day. Sunday came. Now, I sat with Henry and his wife every Sunday at church. You know, I thought about not going to church that Sunday. I didn't want to see Henry. I think I was late that week, kind of just snuck in next to him. It's hard to praise the Lord when you're in a bad mood. I was sitting in church. Henry over there. You need to knock my chicken coop. Left right after church. Next week, the same thing. Didn't talk to Henry all week long. Whoa. Anyway, my other best friend just almost had an accident. Anyway, about a week later, I get in the church, sit down next to Henry. He hands me a card. I open the card up. It says, "Paul, I love you, and I'm always trying to look out for your best." It was Henry's way of saying, "I'm sorry." And I forgave Henry. And him and I had a lot of good times together. And we agreed on a lot of fun times. And like I told you last week, Henry's now up in heaven, my best friend. If I would have stayed mad at him over a chicken coop, do you know how many good times I would have lost out on? There are going to be times that you and your best friend disagree. And you have to forgive that person, just like Jesus forgives you and me. And your friendship will end up stronger. Henry was just trying to help me out. I had to forgive Henry, and I'm so glad I did. Thank you for being with us. And next week we have something really special planned. It will be the 5th Wednesday of the month, and we've got something super cool planned, and I can't tell you about it.